All right, let's talk about Brian Flores and this Minnesota Vikings defense. I mean, it was not a great defense last year. The Vikings defense wasn't. And then they lost pieces defensively. I mean, people were talking about heading into the year, could this be one of the worst defenses in football? And it wasn't a crazy take to say. And not only have they not been one of the worst defenses in football, the only reason people are talking about them as a playoff team right now is because of their defense. I know a lot of people made fun of this game. Oh, 3-0. Wow, these offenses stink. Well, you have to have good defense to make that happen. And that's certainly what both teams did. But, Minnesota was the victor, so we'll give credit to them. And I just wanted to make a Brian Flores video. So kind of a 2-for-1 here. Let's talk about what they were able to do. Some crazy stuff. So, this play is really interesting to me. This is a sort of set up as though it's going to be a halfback screen as Josh Jacobs is running towards the top of the screen. So that part isn't that interesting. What's so interesting about a screen pass? Well, a couple things we have to talk about, during this game. Right off the bat, it's only 6 minutes in, but the Raiders were already running a lot of screen passes, and the Vikings were kind of all over it. Maybe all over it is a bit harsh, but they were ready for it. They were starting to get the hang of, okay, you're throwing a lot of screen passes. We got it. So when Aiden O'Connell takes a snap, he pump fakes, and they're actually going to try to throw the ball deep to Davante Adams. It makes sense. Why not take a chance like this? I totally understand the logic behind it. Actually, a pretty clever offensive play call, I would say. So this is a tough situation. But when Aiden O'Connell throws the ball down the field, okay, listen, was there maybe a window there? Sure. But Harrison Smith, the safety, he came over and he was ready to make that play. That would have taken a perfect throw and probably a good catch as well for that to be a completion. And to me, that play best sums up what the Vikings are doing right now. Is just they're always in position. It's just, and I think it's coaching. I really do. This coaching has been great, and in coverage, obviously being in position is so important. Also, little things like this where they're so creative with the way that they try to scheme up pressure. You might be looking at this coverage and saying, what the hell are you talking about? This is what you'll see the most basic defenses run. What's the big deal? Well, that is, they're going to have the player who's lined up as an edge rusher towards the bottom of the screen. He's going to drop back into coverage, and a different Minnesota player is going to be rushing the passer. So it's still your typical 5-man rush, or excuse me, still your typical 4-man rush, but they're doing it in a unique way. So what's the point of all this? Because you might be wondering, isn't that a kind of a bad thing? You're getting a player who might not be as good in coverage now in coverage, and a player who might not be as good as rushing the passer. Well, yes, that is the negative, but there's a positive, because it now means that the Raiders might not be ready for this thing to happen. Watch as when this play begins, you see right there, so kind of, it was a little bit blocked, but it was a halfback who came in and actually did a pretty good job, I would say, on this one. I think that, Josh Jacobs there doing a good job of doing his best to get in position. But even so, Troy Dye, the linebacker who is currently on the ground right here, it's still kind of not the worst situation in the world. He's in the backfield. And watch him get up, and he is able to help, be one of the guys who helps bring Aiden O'Connell down there. So again, it's that little just added benefit of doing something like that. It just, gets you slightly quicker pressure. And really what it does is it puts your players in positions to succeed, right? Something we talk about a lot with coaching is it's not really quite as simple as a coach can, have a bad unit play good, right? It's not how it works. But what a good coach can do is put a guy like Troy Dye, who isn't, really someone to write home about. Not someone who just, with all due respect to Troy Dye, he was a 4th-round pick who's kind of, hasn't gotten a ton of playing time, but now he's in a position to succeed and he's able to be a contributor, right? So, that's what a good coach can do for players, is put them in positions to contribute. Like a play like this, it's going to be DJ Wanham, the guy. So again, not exactly household names here, but he's going to be the guy. So it's a 5-man rush, but they're also running a stunt here. So you're going to have Wanham kind of run in between the guard and the center right here. But with the way this is designed, they're hopefully going to clear out an area for Wanham to get through. That's what they're trying to do here. See, a lot of teams do this with 4-man rushes. Not as many do it with 5-man rushes, but I like doing it with 5-man rushes. I think it's smart. Watch as when this play begins, you see Wanham goes through here, and there is a straight shot to get to Aiden O'Connell right here. As you see, it also got pressure on the edge. Danielle Hunter was able to kind of just win, so that also helps. But, scheming up pressure this way is a real way that the Vikings have been able to be so successful. And I also think something like this, like, again, you got to give credit to the players as well, right? It's not all coaching. And something like this is a good play, although it might be kind of, some coaching as well. Zone coverage, you see how this route can get open, right? It's kind of this Tampa 2 style coverage, so that area on a 3rd and 4 could get open. Watch as when it begins, you see Michael Mayer appears to be open, but it's number 44 on this play, Josh Metellus, who has, again, in this scheme has really excelled, I think. He's in a position where I think a lot of safeties might back off and might just kind of, cover grass, essentially. What Flores teaches is don't do that. Find a way to go out and make something happen. If you see a guy who looks to be open, we'll cover that guy. Because even if you're leaving someone else open behind you, well, okay, then there's someone else who's open, right? But there's going to be someone open regardless if you don't go over and cover Mayer here. As you see, he steps in, does just enough, and it wasn't just him on that play, obviously. Cameron Bynum, who's also been, he's been great for the Vikings this season. I mean, a lot of good safety play here for the Vikings, and being able to make those plays happen. It's just, it's part of why they were able to win this game. A play like this might really sum up this game entirely. So it's going to be, the way the scheme is supposed to work. You have 2 receivers who are hopefully getting in one player's zone in coverage. One can run further deep. One runs kind of more underneath. Hopefully one of them gets open. As you see when this play begins, it's actually Ivan Pace Jr. He is the player who I've circled in black, the linebacker, who, again, he's in position, right? I mean, that route over the middle is the one that typically could get open, unfortunately for the Raiders. Part of why I'm saying this play sums up the game is he has fallen over, because, again, not great offense for sure, but you still see that even if he didn't, Pace Jr. is in position, and that's just, when you talk about coaching, that's what it is. It's getting yourself in position. Aiden O'Connell, this is the time when they have a little bit of time to look, so he's going to, scramble out, trying to do what he can, say, you know what, let me just flip it to a halfback, 3rd and 4, let's see if we can make something happen. And once O'Connell does that, Minnesota's able to run up and make the tackle on that play. So that's just what they're able to do. They get in position, they force you to throw underneath, they run up and make tackles, they scheme up pressure, they win in these one-on-one matchups. And when you do try to get into a gap in coverage, then they're able to really, close the gap in coverage quicker than you realize. And because of it, they legitimately have a chance to make the playoffs. So how much does a good defensive coordinator matter? I mean, again, clearly for the Vikings, it matters a ton. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.